Okay, so let's look here at how the paper project will be graded. Now keep in mind this is a separate rubric from your content. So you do have your content rubric out of 15. Now we're also going to be looking at a paper rubric which is also out of 15. This is one of the options here for completing projects. First, let's talk about organization. So organization, what are we looking at here? We want to make sure that each paragraph includes all of the appropriate pieces that it needs to have, meaning you must have a topic and concluding sentence, which is very important, and you also have to have a clear thesis that is stated and followed throughout. Now, sometimes this will vary on different projects. Basically, what this is saying here is you need to stay on task and stay to the point. You're not going to have a very well organized paper if you are rambling about something that is really insignificant to the point or to the project that you're talking about. For instance, if you're talking about World War II, and that's what your paper is supposed to be focused on, and then you randomly start talking about the space race of the 1960s and make some connection there that might have a little bit of a connection, but not really. That's not really what you want to be doing because that's not following what your point is. The other thing that you need to make sure of is if you're trying to prove a point, for instance, that let's say Manifest Destiny was a really, really bad thing in American history, and then you spend the majority of your paper talking about how it was actually good, that doesn't really align here because you're not working to prove your point. So make sure that in this you're always proving your point. I'm going to put that in here under the organization category. 3 points means you did it extremely well. 2 points means you did okay, but you lost focus a few times, and you still did, though, have topic and concluding sentences. If you get a 0, this is a big thing for you to understand. That 0 right there means you have to redo it. So if you don't have a thesis, if you're not really on task and focused, or if you're leaving out topic and concluding sentences frequently, you must redo your paper, even if it's only in one of these categories. That's something that's important to understand. Second, for formatting, this is something that we will vary how we want to use this throughout. The big things that we need to focus on and the most common issues are these three, which are making sure that it's double spaced, making sure that you're using at least, size 12 font. We don't want to have anything in here that's really large. And this is just to kind of get in the habit of using more scholarly writing here. And paragraph indentations. Make sure there are paragraph indentations so that it's very clear where you're breaking up a paragraph. 3 would be having all these. 2 would be if there's some formatting issues. If you're messing up on one of these or 2 of these consistently, that's where you would be. Unsatisfactory means you're not doing this. You will have to redo as well. For sentence structure, run-ons, fragments, those are some issues that we need to make sure we address. Using appropriate tense. Now, typically you want to write in the present tense. The only thing here is that when you are writing a history paper, oftentimes you do want to use the past tense. So use whatever tense is appropriate. And also your tone needs to be formal. You don't want your paper to look like you're having a conversation with one of your friends. Make sure that it's well organized, it's well thought out, and that there isn't the rambling kind of talk or silly things included in there when you're doing a formal paper. On most projects, or I should say most assignments, it's not a huge ordeal, but this is a more formal type of project, so that's important to address. Again, 3, 2, and if you have a lot of errors there, you are going to have to redo this. Spelling and grammar, 0 spelling errors, and appropriate grammar is used frequently. There are a lot of different rules in grammar, comma usage, different types of punctuation. You don't want to list them all specifically here. That'll be something more for language arts, but that's important for you to recognize. In reality, I will give you 1 spelling error, though, without taking off a point from the mastery category. 2 to 3 spelling errors means you're going to be a proficient, and if there are some minor grammatical mistakes, 4 or more you're going to have to redo, so make sure you use spell check. And for references, you need to make sure that you appropriately cite them in the text. This is something that we will work with throughout the year. We will move up to this point of moving them in the text fully. Basically, you need to give credit to your resources when they come up and when you're giving the information. So for instance, if you are writing your paper about Manifest Destiny and you have a statistic that Manifest Destiny caused 4 million deaths, well, you need to say where you got that from right in that exact location in your paragraph. So at the end of that sentence, show me where it's from. That'll help you to get in the habit of really using solid evidence and proving your points well instead of kind of rambling and assuming things and then just acting like things are facts when they really aren't. If you give credit but it's not with formal citations, then that would be a 2, meaning you're not using formal bibliographical tools. and if you're not giving any credit, you have to redo, and that's a huge problem. And actually, if you're not giving any credit, you will also have to redo your entire content because you're required to use references in there. So that is our paper project rubric in a nutshell. Hopefully that makes sense.